For the first time in modern American history, young men are now more religious than their female peers. And this is counter to the narrative that I've heard my entire life. Go ahead and go to the next.
I'm sorry, when I see more religious, I really literally do think of people being burned at the stake. But continue on.
That's what the word religious means
I don't
to you?
know. Just because it's bold, it's big.
Oh, the design sent
Yes,
you there?
yes.
Oh.
Anyway.
That's not what I was expecting when I made that.
More religious.
This is why we don't actually have free will, because he was just changed by the font size.
Yeah, Arial font in bold forced Jeff to think of the puritanical era.
Right.
A whole new world.
That's different.
Oh.
All right. Now here's the counter narrative before we dive into it. That I want you guys to watch in this video, and it's I think it's only about a minute long. We'll just let it go, and I want to get you guys' reaction to this first concept that we've got: more religious men now, young men, than ever before in modern American history versus this.
But there's a problem. Young men can't get the help they need from the church right now, so they're leaving and going to the places where they can instead. Let me explain. Imagine for a second you're a young man. What's the life that you wake up to every day? You're alone. Everybody hates you. They call you trash because they think you're to blame for all of their problems.
She hurts
and they're
me.
always trying to punish you for it. The world thinks it's morally good to treat you like garbage because they think you deserve it. You know, for all the patriarchy you've inflicted on the world. And those ideas are becoming policy now. So you're isolated, under constant attack, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Now imagine you turn to the church for help, and they do next to nothing. They hardly acknowledge those problems exist most of the time, let alone put any boots on the ground to do anything about it. The other day, a friend of mine told me, I feel like everyone is fighting against me, and no one is fighting for me. This guy's a Christian, and he goes to a solid church, but he still feels like there's nobody fighting in his corner.
All right. So you have to suspend your judgment for a moment because the guy's voice is problematic.
I thought there was old MTV videos with the boys in the corner in the darkness of
if you
Justin Bieber might have been one of those guys.
We can spend the rest of the episode deconstructing the manipulative aspects of that. I mean, I'm not going to get distracted by that. I see the general point of where it's going, but there's a lot of catastrophication and manipulative words and all that stuff. But go ahead. What
the message that he's trying to send here is young men are feeling they're not feeling supported. They're feeling attacked by the world, and when they go to the church for support, with how will you support me? They're not finding support within the church, and so they're turning to this group that you can see on the left: the Rogans, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate.
It's hard to. He's and even harder.
Don't know who the guy is.
Who's the guy in the bottom left?
I don't know who that is. Producer Jeff, you know who that is?
I do not.
Okay.
I think it's Turgid John Rack.
You just made that up.
Oh,
Mr. John Rack,
related to
Bring it,
Gilbers von Duesenberg.
Yeah, I think they're second cousins twice removed. Is that how that works?
Everyone knows about that.
Yep.
Okay, so here we have these two competing ideas. Was there anything in that video though that for you guys that you recognized? Was there any of those truths in these kinds of trends? Or would you say you've seen men attacked or masculinity supported or attacked in general in the world today?
Well, I've always talked about this. What happened to men?
Yeah,
because we've gone into a social media age, and everybody's glued to their phone. They're being sent a million messages every day, and everybody's just in a blur. So we lack personal connection. We lack just the idea of a man going to ask a woman out on a date, in person. And so
you see masculinity as something celebrated?
Masculinity has been stripped away out of that social media. When you get into the real world, masculinity is back in because now people now there's reality. Social media is not reality. So social media has done a really good job of marketing that women are powerful, women are strong, women are independent. You don't need men. Men are weak. Men are the problem. The patriarch's the problem. And women need to take over. Men need to take a back seat. Women need to be paid more, paid equal, paid more, get the jobs, be the CEO. It's happening all over the place. And we've hit the end, I think. But yes, masculinity has been stripped away. The psyche of it. So if you're sitting online on your phone, yes.
But I think you gave some examples that are real, which is like DEI can be an example of that, where there's an intentional balancing in the hiring process that happens. Hey, we need to make sure that we're having equal numbers in who we're hiring, and we'll make decisions based off of sex.
What does DEI stand for?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay, just want to make sure.
3 out of 4 of us are borderline woke.
But my point is just to extend what you're saying. Yes, it does. It is rampant within social media, but it is also bled into practices and policies as well.
Yes.
So one thing that jumped out to me was the individual, the guy referenced, who it's supposed to be a real person. He said he is a Christian friend of his or whatever.
It sounded like he was a
People
real
are
good,
leaving.
extra good friend of his.
Nobody quote
Extra good friend. When I
This
need
guy's a
more friends,
Christian.
I have this extra friend on the side.
I talked to him, extra friend of mine. Why so down?
Have you heard left knee, right knee? All right.
Sounds a little like Napoleon Dynamite. Sounds like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes.
Nobody is fighting for me was the quote. So this idea of like feeling lost and alone, and if you lack community, and if this person, and we'll just create a fictional version of them, Jeff, you're not wrong when people are buried in their phones. This person is probably buried in their phone. All the examples that were flashed of the anti-man stuff, it's all tweets.
Yeah.
Well, and if that is your world, that can become reality. I agree with you. It's not real life. If you go make eye contact with somebody at the store, it doesn't matter their political views. If you smile and say thank you and please, it's awesome. People are cordial. And so I've often said it's not real life. However, if all your life is actually spent doing that, that will become your reality. And if you don't have real tangible community to be a part of, then you can feel alone. Some of the toxic masculinity stuff ties into this too. And I think more generally on the right, it's the anti-toxic masculinity crowd. We'll just say that. I think that's pretty fair. The reaction against some of the Me Too and the Church Too movements, where there's a lot of advertising pushed towards women being empowered and the men is sort of disempowered. There was one Gillette commercial, I think, where it was examples of guys like mansplaining, slapping a girl on the butt or something,
Right.
being inappropriate. It's calling out toxic masculinity. And I know people that interpreted that as they're coming after masculinity in general. And that's where I'm like, are they really coming? Like, there probably are elements that are coming after masculinity, just generally, because men have run the world forever, pretty much, with exceptions.
For good reason.
Rightfully so.
That aside, Jeffs, they're becoming one. This is a problem.
Indistinguishable.
We've made a huge mistake. The Jeffs are joining. But the right side almost takes the bait to their detriment, because they're like, see, they hate you. Just take that Gillette commercial. Do you slap girls' asses inappropriately? Do you like talk over women? Do you do all those toxic masculine things? That commercial didn't offend me, because it's like, yeah, this is examples of poor behavior by men. And when the guys take the bait on the other side, we get the overreaction to it, where we need to reclaim it, and it doesn't always happen in a healthy way.
How about, I don't disagree with any of the things that you just said there. And maybe to further the point, I can't think of and maybe this is just based on my own training of the algorithm that I've given. I can't think of any sources on the left that are focused on growing and cultivating and coaching men.
I think that's fair.
Can you think of any?
What do you mean? Like to be good men?
Who is the Jordan Peterson of the left who focuses on calling young men into responsibility and growth and maturity?
I can't remember her name.
Yeah, I
think she has a deep voice though. And her name's Karen.
Okay.
Andy,
It might be there. Maybe I just
Yeah,
am not
I
aware.
want-
There is nobody on the other side.
hold on. If
that's
there
doing
is
that.
and you know about it, let us know.
Yeah.
Because I would want to know, because when you say that, I can't think of any, and I'm somebody that's not in an echo chamber. I'm trying to hear from multiple voices that I disagree with and some I agree with. And I don't know.
Okay.
So I
Let's
think that's generally true.
pull up the next slide here, my friend. Okay.
Can actually
Yes.
can you read that first paragraph? And when it's the quote from Ryan Burge, can we get voiceover Jeff to do that quote?
Oh, yeah. That's a great idea. So for the first time in modern American history, young men are now more religious than their female peers. They attend more services more often and are more likely to identify as religious. Hit it,
We've never seen it before.
said Ryan Burge, an associate professor of political science at Eastern Illinois University. So among Gen Z Christians, this is playing out in a stark way. Men are staying in church and women are leaving at a remarkable clip. Next slide. So specifically, like I'd mentioned before, this is extra meaningful to me because my daughter is going to Baylor University in Waco, Texas, and we've heard of some of these churches. By the way, Waco is like the buckle of the Bible Belt. I mean, it is the buckle of the buckle. It's the crown jewel on the buckle of the Bible Belt
There's probably an eagle, a cross, and a flag on that buckle.
with 2 guns and a fishing pole.
And a statue of David Koresh.
Yes. So,
Timely reference. I love it.
It's been a while.
People of a certain age will get that reference.
Yes, too soon. So Grace Church in Waco, Texas, they interviewed the pastors and they said they hadn't made any conscious efforts as a church to attract young men, yet its leaders have noticed for several years the young men are outnumbering the young women there. And specifically, they cited one of their small auxiliary they could say it outpost. I thought that was a weird way to call it, but okay. A campus church, I'm going to assume. And 12 to 16 young people that regularly attend are men. And at another church, their Hope Church in Waco, Pastor Phil Barnes said,
We've been talking about it from the beginning.
and he also said,
What's the Lord doing? Why is he sending us all of these young men?
all right, next slide. So we're seeing this trend start to play out. And so here's what it looks like in larger numbers. So the American Survey Center on American Life surveyed 5,000 people, and within Gen Z, 40% of women now describe themselves as religiously unaffiliated, which means I don't go to church. I don't have a religious faith, compared to only 34% of men. Next slide.
I go to church and I kind of feel like I'm religiously unaffiliated in a weird way. That's a different conversation.
Yeah. So this is connecting to what you were starting to share a little bit earlier. So it's to say that young women are still spiritual and seeking, according to these surveys, but the Gen Z young women grew up during the Me Too movement, which opened up that national conversation about sexual harassment, gender-based abuse, but that also inspired widespread exposure of abuse in the church settings under the hashtag #ChurchToo. Now, Zach, you'd mentioned that you had something that is relevant to something that we'd highlighted recently on one of our episodes. And as you pull it up and share it on the screen, I think you'll have to do that first.
This thing I will. It's not pausing when I hit pause. Okay, this guy he was featured on our podcast a little bit. There we go. Fat fingers. Do you feel like your fingers get fatter in your 40s? Steve Lawson, pastor of a large church in Texas, or I don't know if he's the lead pastor anymore, but he is a pastor. We played a clip of him saying, and I quote, I'm having senior moments all over the place technologically wise. Steve Lawson, Jesus isn't coming. He was speaking at ShepCon 24. Jesus isn't coming to save. He's coming to slaughter. He isn't coming to deliver. He's coming to destroy and damn. And that's not directly related to this conversation. Just to give you an idea of the theological template he's working with.
Yeah, he's a fire and brimstone guy.
Fire and brimstone. And I have this clip of him addressing a sexually immoral pastor who is unnamed. I do not know who this person is named or what this person's name is. And it's not showing my computer on the share screen now. This is awesome, guys.
Oh, it's not? Okay. Well,
maybe that's God telling us something.
I can reenact it to the best of my remembrance.
I don't believe it.
Okay.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to play the audio.
You are a fool.
Or you can just describe it to me slowly.
You used to have a job.
It's good to hear his words. So I don't have the transcript in front of me, but he's calling out a sexually immoral pastor, and he said, "Hey, you're giving up you now have a day job. You got a paper route. You're a mailman." He's like,
"You used to be a pastor.
You used to be a pastor. You lost it for 15 seconds of pleasure." And I don't know if he's projecting there or if that's. I'll just leave that up to the viewer.
And
to
walked
decide.
away and sacrificed your whole ministry, your whole life for 15 seconds.
And this was a video from the recent past, and now flash forward to today, smash cut to now, Steve Lawson has been fired for an inappropriate relationship with a woman. Actually, I don't know if it was a woman, but I'm assuming a woman.
So he also spent 15 seconds outside of his ministry.
Yeah, he did.
And now he does not
And by
have
the way, that was probably going
life.
on while he's preaching fire and brimstone about Jesus coming back to slaughter.
You would know.
And so, wait, what does that mean?
You're like, it probably was happening during this time. I'm like, yeah, of course.
I am what you say. I say you are.
Yeah.
That's what this is, though. This is an I am what I say you are.
Yeah. And
Not
so
you personally.
But I can't help. I've seen so many examples of this, and it feels like there is a purge going on, especially in Texas. A lot of large Texas churches are losing pastors because, and for good reason, because of inappropriate relationships.
Yeah.
That is where the majority of the churches are in the United
And
States.
best case scenario, it's consensual and it's not abuse, but some of these are going to be abusive situations.
Yeah.
And so when you put that together and this young generation of men and women, the women's side of that, and this is when I shared with Lisa this article that we're jumping off of, before she got to the church do part, she's like, when she just saw women are leaving, she mentioned that without even getting there yet. It's like, maybe it has to do with that. Probably has to do with there's probably a lot of factors. Sure. I'm not saying it's all one thing, but a decent part of it is when you are a young woman and you see these pastors stepping down and abusive situations that are happening, you still believe in God. Why would you go to church if that is just drilled into you that is happening? And I don't think the majority of pastors are a problem in this.
Gosh, no.
I am optimistic on that. However, when it does happen, it is the worst thing. And I think this is definitely playing a role in this transfer of men who don't have opportunities, do feel like they're being beaten down in the media, don't have community. They find community, they find security, they find certitude, and like you do have a purpose and it's here and you belong. We can use your gifts.
I agree.